Lives versus profits. What should really be driving your business? In the theory and case that follow, we will be forced to rethink the social responsibility of a business. Hello, I'm Misty Corella, and today I will be taking you through the theory portion of this presentation. In The Collapse and Transformation of Our World by Duncan Taylor and Granny Taylor, our author's approach is more of a big picture approach versus an individual business approach. So please keep that in mind when following along. The first line of the theory says, terrorism will not destroy global civilization. Our civilization will destroy itself. And what the authors discuss in the introduction is that industrial civilization will soon collapse because of a fatal flaw. It is designed to grow constantly within a finite planet. Which means that we are consuming the biophysical foundations of our civilization. The world population has increased from 800 million in 1750 to 6.5 billion in 2006. We shifted from the agrarian culture, which is an early farming society, to the current global industrial age. Natural resources are declining and disappearing, some of which by global warming, according to our authors, and consumer culture and globalization has allowed society to expand past sustainable limits. As you can see by the differences in Diagram 1 and Diagram 2, our resource footprint of global population in 2006 is 25% larger than the annual natural income, which means we are unsustainable. Our health and survival is dependent on the health and survival of the complex ecosystems that support life on Earth. If we don't make a structural change, we will collapse by 2050. And this is something that the authors emphasized. So what can we do? Well, our authors pose three questions. Why is global industrial civilization unsustainable? What are the requirements for a sustainable civilization? And what can we do to help a sustainable global civilization evolve out of the coming collapse of our social and natural world? Before we move on, please go to the discussion board and list some of the reasons why you think our civilization is unsustainable and what you would do to change it. Or maybe you think it is sustainable. Just let us know your thoughts. So why is global industrial civilization unsustainable? The first is because social systems are dependent on biophysical systems. And what they mean is industrial economies are unsustainable because they are based on a mechanistic or physical worldview, focusing on individual gains instead of interrelated systems, meaning they're not taking into account environmental costs when installing a new factory. Industrial economies are unsustainable because they are based on a continuous material growth, and continuous material growth involves the constant degradation of biophysical systems. And lastly, industrial economies are unsustainable because they are based on a consumer culture. Consumer culture creates false needs for power, status, and wealth instead of satisfying real needs for community, feeding, or survival. The second reason why global industrial civilization is unsustainable is because technological solutions cannot fix social problems. Technology will reduce the rate of destruction growth, but in order to be sustainable, the process of destruction needs to be reversed and the environment needs to be restored, which is the reduction of consumption, which will be shown on diagrams 4 and 5 in the following slide. And resources need to be redistributed, and the disparities between rich and poor need to be greatly reduced. The redistribution of wealth. And the last point that our authors say, our sustainable global civilization cannot be made sustainable. We have the available material resources and the scientific knowledge, but the will or desire to change has not. Companies have implemented policies designed to sustain growth, which is a quantitative expansion, rather than develop sustainability, a qualitative transformation. And the last point, a consumer society cannot be transformed into a conservative society without structural change. diagram 4, human economies will only survive over the long term if they're able to function within the carrying capacity of the planet. The resources of 4 more planets would be needed for everyone in the world to live like Americans. The average footprint of the U.S. citizen is significantly larger than the fair Earth share in 2003. In the diagram 5, the global per capita footprint needs to be reduced now if human economies are to be sustainable. A 43% reduction from 2003 is needed by 2050. Again, there's that time frame of 2050. Now that we've discussed why global industrial civilization is unsustainable, what are the requirements for a sustainable civilization? According to the author, the number one thing is to satisfy humanity's needs. In addition to simply material needs, such as food, shelter, and safety, there are also needs for health and wholeness, for meaning and belonging, identity, for relationship to one's community and biophysical context, for physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual needs. To be able to facilitate cooperation, equality, justice, and peaceful conflict resolution. These goals will only be met by also meeting the needs of the planet's biophysical system and protecting its millions of life forms. The goal is to eliminate war and preserve the environment. In addition to satisfying humanity's needs, you also need to value interdependence and diversity. In plants, resources, and culture, diversity increases a system's resilience. Viable societies will also require more efficient and less bureaucratic social structures. Sustainable societies must be decentralized and self-regulating, a shift from partial democracy to participatory democracy. And sustainable societies require integral worldviews. So now that we've discussed why a civilization is unsustainable and what the requirements are for a sustainable civilization, what can we do to help a sustainable global civilization evolve out of the coming collapse of our social and natural world? Well, according to the author, we need to implement the best model, which is the biosocial evolutionary systems theory, which you can see in the diagram to the right. As we are entering the purification point, or the crisis point, according to our author, there are only 3 possibilities for the future of our civilization. The first one is that cascading environmental crises will rapidly escalate, producing uncontrolled economic, social, and political crises, causing irreversible damage, meaning global civilization will disintegrate. It'll go from point 1 to right to 6 and 7. The second possibility is that political and business leaders will proactively respond, introducing new technologies and sustainable development, but it's still not enough without changing the whole structure. Resources will decline and civilization will collapse. It will get to point 1, 2, 3, but then go to 6 and 7. And the last possibility is that sustainable solutions are supported and constructive reorganization begins. Should this happen, the collapse of the contemporary civilization will become a springboard for evolution of a sustainable civilization. The reorganization of the global system will accelerate, and you will have integration, and the best model will be successful. So now that we have hit part 4 and part 5 on the best model, what can we do to help a sustainable global civilization evolve out of the coming collapse? According to the authors, there are 3 things. The first is the emergence of an integral worldview, and this is critical for creating sustainable society. There needs to be a shift in our cultural patterns. If you look at diagram 7, our society needs to change from an industrial age to an information age. Our religion and worldviews need to change. Our culture and aesthetics, our government, our education, our family, social organizations, our economy, and our science and technology sections. Secondly, we need to maximize cooperation around common interests while minimizing competition over scarce resources and differing values. Include but still transcend the old structures. And the last thing that we can do to create a sustainable civilization is to organize for change. Our authors suggest implementing an international agreement that follows the 6 points. Limiting growth. Meaning, because our planet has finite resources, there are limits to growth. If the global economy continues to exceed sustainability limits, it will destroy its biophysical foundations and collapse. 2, our collective survival depends on human economies becoming sustainable. 3, essential human and biophysical needs must be met in order for human economies to be sustainable. 4, resources must be redistributed to meet essential human and biophysical needs. 5, cultural and genetic diversity is essential for health and wholeness. And 6, in order for different cultures and societal systems to coexist, their values and structures must promote peaceful cooperation and sustainability. If you take a look at the diagram, this is a great example of what our authors envision for a sustainable planetary civilization. This concludes the theory portion.